Well, thank you all for being here this evening. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural event of our Center on Faith and Justice here at Georgetown, a new center we launched this fall, led by our colleague, Reverend Jim Wallis. And I'd like to express my gratitude to the Honorable Raphael Warnock and the Honorable Terry Sewell for their presence and their participation in tonight's conversation. It is a privilege to welcome you to Georgetown University. And I also wish to thank Dean Maria Canchun, our colleagues at the McCourt School of Public Policy and our Center on Faith and Justice for their efforts to launch this new center and to bring us together for this inaugural gathering. As the oldest Catholic and Jesuit institution in the United States, located here in our nation's capital, we have a special opportunity to contribute to civic life. When we founded the McCourt School of Public Policy in 2013, we were able to realize this responsibility in new ways. And today, we take another step in advancing our commitment to this work. This is a responsibility that goes back to the earliest days of the Jesuits. Our colleague and Jesuit historian, Father John O'Malley, emeritus professor in our Department of Theology, reminds us of the foundational influence of Cicero's De Officiis, often translated as on public responsibility, and the influence of this document on St. Ignatius of Loyola and the first Jesuits. Father O'Malley identifies a passage that has particular resonance in our tradition, and I quote, "We are not born for ourselves alone. We, too, as human beings, are born for the sake of other human beings, that we might be able mutually to help one another. We ought, therefore, to contribute to the common good of humankind by reciprocal acts of kindness, by giving and receiving from one another, and thus by our skill, our industry, and our talents, work to bring human society together in peace and harmony." Close quote. Father O'Malley calls this the foundation of a civic spirituality. And in the tradition upon which our university is built, we acknowledge that we have a civic commitment to seek the common good, that there is a good we can achieve together that we could never hope to achieve alone. We're honored to be able to advance our contribution to this idea of civic spirituality through this new center and with the leadership of our longtime colleague, Reverend Jim Wallis, who has been appointed director of the center and our inaugural chair in Faith and Justice at our McCourt School. Reverend Wallis is the founder of Sojourners, the Christian social justice organization, where he served as president and editor-in-chief for 5 decades, helping to shape national dialogue on Christian perspectives in social justice. The author of 12 books, including Rediscovering Values, A Guide to Economic and Moral Recovery, On God's Side, What Religion Forgets and Politics Hasn't Learned About Serving the Common Good, and America's Original Sin. He has taught classes at our McCourt School for a number of years and has served as a research fellow at our Berkeley Center since 2010. He's also served on the White House Advisory Council on faith-based and neighborhood partnerships. And for his many years of leadership, we recognized him with an honorary degree at Georgetown in 2007. We are honored that he has taken on this new role as director of our Center on Faith and Justice and our inaugural chair in Faith and Justice. He will guide the center in its work as it seeks to foster a deeper understanding of the intersection between faith and public policy. The center will help us to engage the resources of our faith traditions in civic life, politics, and policy, focusing attention on issues such as racism, poverty, peace and justice, and will complement the long-standing efforts across our institution. With great anticipation and excitement for its future work, we launch the center this evening with this gathering on voting rights, race, and religion. It's now my pleasure to turn this over to Jim and to our two distinguished guests. Jim?
Look at all of you. I want to start by thanking Jack DeGioia, president and friend, for those very kind words. And I've been so honored to come more fully into this wonderful Georgetown community with my appointment to that new chair of Faith and Justice at the McCourt School of Public Policy. Dean Kanchan, great to see you tonight. And founding director of Georgetown University's Center on Faith and Justice. The two favorite words of my life are faith and justice. And now they're in a chair and a center. What could be better than that? And I also want to thank our event co-sponsor, the Berkeley Center, where I started a long time ago here, and the Initiative on Catholic Social Thought and Public Life, my friend John Carr and all the others over there, and Georgetown University's Office of Mission and Ministry. So I look forward to lots of collaboration with you and many other people who've been so kind in welcoming me to this new perch and new venue. As we heard already from Jack and Father O'Malley, as a Jesuit institution, Georgetown is grounded, I'll use that word, grounded, in a 500-year tradition dedicated to introducing students to the depths of Christian social teaching. And one of the spirit of Georgetown values is, I love this phrase, faith that does justice. They have banners that say that here. And I love walking to my class under that banner, faith that does justice. So I know I'm at the right place to begin this center. Connecting faith and justice is what I've tried to do my whole life. And to address the challenges we face right now that we were talking about back in the green room, we're going to have to go deeper than partisan politics. So I'm saying, don't go right, don't go left, go deeper. Go deeper. We have to connect our faith with the justice that we seek. More than ever before, faith and justice must be integral. I would say inseparable, dependent on one another in our message and our practice. These two words, faith and justice, are indeed and must be integral. Without one, the other is incomplete. Each absent of the other is missing a key ingredient. Think about it. Without justice, faith becomes self-serving, only personal, and even private. It becomes tribal instead of universal. And without faith, justice can be reduced to anger, retribution, and revenge for one group over another. These are the issues that will be core to the work and vocation of this new center on faith and justice. So tonight is our launch event. I'm glad to see you all here. I am very happy that this is happening, even in our still post-COVID world. This is the first event of what we will be calling our Faith and Justice Forums. We're going to have more of these. This sort of event we hope to become known for across Georgetown, but also in this nation's capital, across the country, and even globally. And for our first event, we've chosen to focus on voting rights. Voting rights. Why? Because voting rights, hear me now, is the critical issue that will impact and determine every other issue we care about. Like poverty, racial justice, policing, peacemaking, climate change, immigration reform, and gun control, just to name a few. You can see that in the fight for voting rights, everything is at stake. I'll say it again. In the fight for voting rights, everything is going to be at stake. Not just equal citizenship, but the very future of democracy in this country. And I want to say tonight that voting rights must be named also as a faith issue, even a test of faith. In this year alone, 2021, lawmakers in 49 states across the country have introduced 425 bills to restrict voter access. Get that now, 49 states, 425 bills. My friends, something is going on. Something is going on here. In 30 of those 425 attempts to curtail voting rights, they've already succeeded. Now listen carefully. These new laws will shorten the windows during which one can vote, make it harder to remain on absentee voter lists, limit ballot drop boxes, impose strict signature requirements, expand voter purges, reduce the hours and locations of polling places, and even ban the act of providing water and snacks to people lining up to vote. And you and I both know where there are long lines to vote and where there are not. Some of these laws even give state legislatures and judges the right to overturn the results of local elections. State legislatures and judges can overturn local elections all over the country in these new laws. This is unprecedented partisan grab for power, which we have never seen before. Now, what's going on? I'll say this. Many of us believe that the restriction of voting rights is part of a strategy to protect white supremacy in the United States. A strategy that includes racially and politically motivated gerrymandering, blocking comprehensive immigration reform, mass incarceration, voter suppression, and a naked appeal to white Christian nationalism, which this faith leader is going to name as a sin. Can I get an amen to that? Together, these efforts make up a strategy to prevent demographic shifts happening in our country from being reflected in our representative democracy. Here's the key. The strategy is to prevent changing demography from changing democracy. Let me say it again. The strategy is to prevent the changes in our demography from changing our democracy. That is the point, that is their intent, that is what they're trying to do. To put it even more bluntly, to ensure that white minority rule continues, despite America becoming an ever more diverse nation. Now, I want to say at the opening of this Center of Faith and Justice that this threat to democracy is even more than just a question of equal citizenship or politics. Rather, it is deeply moral, religious, and even a theological matter. Let me say why. If we believe that we are all made in Imago Dei, the image of God, then denying someone the right to vote is silencing their God-given voice. To suppress a vote on the basis of skin color is a literal assault on Imago Dei. It's throwing away the image of God. So this is not just a partisan tactic, but rather a denial of their Imago Dei, a theological, biblical, and I would say spiritual offense to God. Voter suppression, theologically, is therefore a sacrilege. And to put these two together, faith and justice, is essential for us now. We're saying tonight that voter suppression is a test of both democracy and faith. There is a battle raging for the soul of this nation. And the battle is about the very question that Dr. King and countless others in the civil rights movement have asked. Is this country truly willing to become a multiracial democracy? I believe we have not yet answered that question. The question remains, are we willing, with all that we say and do, to allow this country to become a multiracial democracy? Or as my dear friend and mentor Vincent Harding pointedly asked, is America possible? Is America possible? So to help us talk more deeply about this issue, I am honored, and I'll say we are blessed tonight to be joined by two of the most important leaders on voting rights in America today. Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock. I really love calling you Senator. No, I really do that. That's new. I never did that before. My reverend friend, now Senator, grew up in Caton Homes Public Housing in Savannah, born one of 12 brothers and sisters raised in coastal Georgia. His father, a veteran small businessman and preacher, grew up in Burke in Screven County, Georgia. Senator Reverend Warnock's mother grew up in Waycross, Georgia, where she spent summers picking tobacco and cotton. A graduate of Savannah's Sol C. Johnson High School, Senator Raphael Warnock's mother and extended family still live in the Savannah area. Senator Warnock is a proud graduate of Morehouse College, where they say Morehouse man. After graduating from Morehouse, he went on to earn a PhD and began his career ordained in the ministry. For 15 years, Senator Warnock has served as senior pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. Former pulpit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Raphael Warnock is the youngest pastor ever selected to serve that role in that historic church. Senator Warnock was elected as a Democrat to the United States Senate in January 5th, 2021 special election runoff. He took the oath of office on January 20th, 2021. Congresswoman Terry Sewell is in her sixth term representing Alabama's 7th congressional district. She is one of the first women ever elected to Congress from Alabama in her own right, and the first black woman to ever serve in the Alabama congressional delegation. For Congresswoman Sewell, the fight for voting rights has always been personal, has it not? Growing up in Selma, Alabama, and attending the historic Brown Chapel AME Church, She didn't have to read about the civil rights movement in history books. The foot soldiers of the movement were her neighbors, fellow worshipers, her high school principal, and even her babysitter. As the lead sponsor of H.R. 4, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, Congresswoman Sewell is proud to be leading the fight for voting rights in the House of Representatives. A daughter of Alabama's rural black belt, Congresswoman Sewell was the first black valedictorian of Selma High School. She is an honors graduate of Princeton University and Oxford University and received her law degree from Harvard. So, my friends, given their voting schedules even today, we are honored and blessed to have them here with us tonight. Help me welcome to the stage Senator Warnock.